Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you're watching this. As always, it is the Triple S crew, and we are back with another issue of Words with Nerds. As always, you have me, Sundance Kid himself, aka DJ.
You got me, Slick the Vic Rodriguez.
What's up, guys? It's Space Case, aka Vince, and we are back with issue number 44, and we are back in the top-notch horror. We got a special episode for you guys today. It is technically DJ's week, so I will let him take it away from here.
Thank you, V. And this week, as you know, we're going to be, for the whole of October, we're just going to be doing horror-related topics and subjects so we can get into the spirit of things. If you are like us, you've been waiting for this month particularly all year. So this week, we are going to be doing top-notch horror shows. That's right. Anything from a regular series to anthology series, it's all fair game. And I can say that after looking at our choices, I am very excited for this episode. So, as always, we have to mention, because of course it wouldn't be an episode or an issue if we didn't mention it, we were born in the 90s. So, of course, most of our picks are going to be from the 90s, but some surprisingly are from this era, because I feel like it's very hard to make a good horror show. There's probably one that I'm just thinking of now that I probably shouldn't have mentioned, or I should have mentioned, but I didn't. So it'll be like an honorable mention towards the end. But let's start off with, just our regular topics, our couple 10-minute topics. So let's hit that up. Does anybody have anything to talk about particularly?
Oh yeah. I believe, I think Victor had one, right?
Yeah, I had one. Actually, if you guys haven't caught up yet on the What If series, you guys should. Are you both caught up, or am I going to spoil shit?
Not caught up, but I'm not worried about spoilers. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank God. So I feel like just because they're introducing multiverse stuff so hard, something significant happened in the series where the recent episode with Ultron. I feel like that's how they're gonna. I feel like that's going to be the reason why you confirmed that we confirmed that Agent Carter is going to be one of the, or not one of the antagonists in Multiverse of Madness, because she fights Scarlet Witch, correct? Or she's one of the people who are going to be trying to fight Scarlet Witch. Something happened in that episode that's drawing people from the multiverse to make the Multiverse Avengers. So I feel like that's how they're going to start pouring that into the main MCU, which I'm really happy about. Watch it, please. I'm not going to spoil the episode, but just watch it. It's such a good episode. The only thing I will say that is a bad thing is James Spader's not in it. The original voice of Ultron.
Oh, okay.
Which would have just dumb. But besides that episode was just like,
it is what it is. It is what it is.
It was beautiful. But yeah, sorry, that was my first 10 minutes, or my first few minutes.
Awesome. Yeah. What if? I mean, we did a whole episode about it. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. But it's still going on, and I've heard really good things. I kind of just fell off the train because I've been doing other things, watching other stuff, but I've been hearing real good stuff about it. Everyone's talking it up. I saw the Ultron stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, this looks pretty cool." Yeah. Speaking of TV shows, I don't even have to say, you guys know I'm big into Pokemon. They just released episodes 1 and 2 of the Pokemon series. It's called Pokemon Evolutions. It is by far the best best style of animation that Pokemon has done so far. You guys can watch them on YouTube, absolutely free. They're short little 10-minute episodes, but yeah, like I said, they are absolutely beautiful as far as like art goes. Episode 1 is cool. It follows our champion Leon as he battles Eternatus. It's straight out of the stories from Sword and Shield, if you guys played those games. So it's really cool to see them bring the story in the game to life through an anime and to watch it all over again, different perspectives. And you kind of get to like see their characters come to life, because in the games you don't get to hear anyone talk. You have to just read the captions, right? But in the animes you can hear them talk, and it just really brings everything to life. Episode 2 is even better. That story is out of Sun and Moon. It is with Lunala, the legendary Moon Pokemon and her trainer. And it leaves you on a cliffhanger. I don't know if episode 3 is going to pick up from where that left off, but that was my favorite one by far. Yeah, check it out if you guys are into Pokemon or if you guys are just looking for some anime to watch. It's a quick watch, and yeah, that's really it.
So they just fell off with Ash. No more Ash?
Yeah, Ash isn't in these. No more Ash, at least for this series. It follows the characters from the games. It's really focused on the storylines from the games. It seems like they're bouncing around games, and they are really focused on the legendary Pokemon. Like Eternatus is the kind of middle ground Pokemon. You know how like give every Pokemon games has a generation, or sorry, let me reword that. Every Pokemon game has 2 different types that come out, like Sword and Shield, red and yellow, right? And you can pick the Blastoise one or you can get the Charizard one, but there's always that middle Pokemon. So Eternatus is like that middle Pokemon for Sword and Shield, and they're focused on him in that episode, I guess. But yeah, no more Ash.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Pokemon Evolutions. Go and check it out, guys. Quick tidbit. I did want to mention this. It's not anything new or anything, but I stumbled upon English translated mangas for the Resident Evil Biohazard series that they made back in the 90s to accompany the video games. So if you want to go and search the web, you don't have to search the dark web or anything, but if you feel like sometimes there's questions in video games that like you're like, this doesn't make any sense, like in Resident Evil where you just find randomly ammo everywhere. That's explained in the manga, and it's actually a pretty good explanation for it, where like you guys should read it, but like it's a pretty good series. I enjoy it. That's one of my favorite game franchises, so I mean, to be able to read a manga based off of it and the same time that it was coming out, the original games, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to read. So just look for it online. You could probably go to Read Comic or readonlinecomicfree.com and you can find it. So
cool.
Heck yeah.
Sounds cool. I like it.
One of my favorite video games.
Moving on, we're gonna head straight into this. Let's just dive right into it. So Top Notch. We got the horror TV shows. I feel like we ourselves have a little anthology series going on with Top Notch this week, and I think that's very befitting. So I just want to jump right into it. Vince, let's start off with you first. And I mean, what was your first choice for a top-notch TV show, horror related?
My first choice came very easy. Like DJ was talking about earlier, we're all 90s babies. We all have like nostalgic picks here. I kind of wanted to tie in more modern stuff just to kind of give it a good blend from everybody here. Because I know we've got real old stuff, we've got like classic stuff from the 90s, and then we've got some modern stuff here. So someone's at the front door. I'm going to ignore them. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, my first topic is going to be Stranger Things. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like most people have seen Stranger Things. I'm not going to sit here and do like a full review of Stranger Things and explain what it is. Quick synopsis, a bunch of young kids come across a mysterious force, whether it is, it's called the underground. It sounds like the police are at my front door right now.
The Upside Down.
I hear a walkie-talkie all of a sudden. Weird. Anyways.
You can't record podcasts in your county.
Yeah, right. I think it's UPS or something. Anyways. What's up, Paige? Sorry. I'm in a new setup. Everyone's kind of adjusting to me recording. I'm in a spot that's like not the best to record in, so I apologize. Back to Stranger Things.
We'll make do. Back to Stranger Things.
It was bound to happen. Yeah, we're talking Stranger Things. So Stranger Things, it's a group of kids. They discover kind of like a force that's unknown, this demonic kind of this force that's happening. They make a new friend along the way, which a lot of people know as 11. And it's just kind of uncovering the mysteries of what that force is along the way. I picked it simply because it's just awesome writing. It's directed by a group of brothers, two brothers, I believe, right? The Duffer brothers.
Mhm.
They kick off the first season with just like another cult instant favorite. Everyone's all about Stranger Things. Season 2 was better, and I think season 3 was the best by far. So season 3 comes out next year, and I'm excited for that.
So, in regards to Stranger Things, do you have either a favorite? So, do you have a favorite episode or favorite season? Like, and for instance, like if you were to just stumble on a Stranger Things on Netflix, what's like your go-to season or episode that you're just like, yeah, I can watch this any day?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously, if you haven't watched it, start from the beginning. Don't dive right into it. But if I'm going to rewatch it and I want to watch like a specific episode, I'm picking season 3. And I don't know if it's the finale or the episode before the finale, but it's the one where they're all at the carnival and then they all end up at the mall. I think that's the next episode that bleeds into them going to the mall. But just the pace of the episode, it's tense. It builds really fast. They blend in like horror elements with them being at the carnival and that typical, like you hear the carnival music, right? Mixed with that tension. I love that style. Brings me back to like old school. I don't even know like what specific movie I'm thinking of, but there's definitely old school like 90s, 80s horror movies that have scenes just like that. Where
there's a lot of slasher flicks or a lot of like
Yep.
slasher flicks like that, where they have they kind of create that carnival ambiance with like kind of the horror aspect, and they kind of bring it together. It's that's good.
Child's Play has that like scene exactly too, where it's like they're chasing Chucky is chasing the kid through a carnival. So like when you're describing that's what instantly fell in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't that movie.
The new It movie, Chapter 2.
Yeah,
that was terrifying.
Yeah, so they do a really good job at blending that like classic slasher carnival style, I guess, with kind of a new paranormal vibe. And then just the cinematography, it's beautiful. All the colors and the 80s vibes, like I'm in it. I love it.
There's a great aesthetic to it where like you feel like they do such a good job of making it feel like an 80s kind of aesthetic to it, like you feel like you're watching an 80s movie or a TV show. Like it feels very 80s paced. And you have like your prototypical characters and like the tropes that they have, and you see, interesting enough, you see these kids kind of grow up, especially with like the new season coming out because of the pandemic and everything. They're going to be like 4 years older.
Yeah, Lucas, man, I didn't even recognize Lucas in the trailer. I was like, holy shit, you got a flat top now. I love it.
We've seen these kids like literally grow up before our eyes, and it's really fun to watch. Do you have a favorite character?
I think Lucas is my favorite character. He's just always been such a solid, like I don't know, he's not too goofy, he's not like too out there, he's just kind of like that solid character in the friend group that everyone can kind of come back to, and I feel like he's the grounded one in the group and kind of keeps everyone together.
Right.
Dustin's like wild. I don't know. I like Lucas the best.
There's a great like kind of through the group. Like obviously you got the de facto leader in Finn. Well, what's his name?
Mike. Right?
Yeah. And then you got Lucas, who kind of keeps everybody level headed, like you said. And then you got Dustin, who's the fucking wild card, and he's ridiculously crazy, and his head's always in the clouds. And then you got
Will is the damsel in distress.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. And then
he's always, I mean,
11's the badass of the group, and Hopper's the dad to all. Like if you get into shit, Hopper's there.
Certainly dad. Yeah.
It's a great show too. It's very heartfelt. Season 2 probably my favorite. And Hopper is the embodiment of an 80s man, like the action hero. Like he's every 80s action hero, like he's Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Bruce Willis, like kind of all wrapped into one with a little Harrison Ford. Like he's just this disgruntled white man that's just like with a mustache, and he's just constantly kicking ass and taking names. I love it.
Fun fact about that portrayal by what's his name? I only know him by
David Harbour.
David Harbour. One of the interviews that he had about that role is that like that was one of his first major roles where he was recognized as, and like he did apply that mentality. He's like, what is the classic 80s dude in this? Where like they don't have to be chiseled, they just have to be a bigger physique guy. Because he
burly guy.
Yeah, so he kind of just ate. He ate like shit, and he picked up smoking. Like Like when he's smoking as Hopper, that's him smoking. For season 1 is just him like, wow. And he even said like, I think it was in Hot Ones where he's just like, it just sucked because you would have to do multiple takes with like, I'd have to light a new cigarette, just walk in the scene. And I'm like, oh my God, that character. Yeah, you're right. That show had such a strong, like they played into these cliches for a bit, but they did it just well enough to where it wasn't like hacky. It wasn't like just like, oh Jesus, this is cringy. It's like, no, this is like as realistic as you can get to these characters, the Goonies and the sheriff.
It's
and the
satire. It's not satire. It's just like it's kind of paying an homage to all of those kind of 80s movies. So that's it's great that they stay faithful to that.
Like small town vibe,
exactly. You know, Hawkins is the shit. So Steve also doesn't get enough credit. Just gonna throw that out there.
I love Steve. I think Steve is my second favorite.
Yeah, Steven is spiked baseball from season 1, just like his bat, just flipping it, and it's just fun. All right,
John Raphael.
Moving on. Victor, what is your pick for this week? For your first pick?
My first pick is something that's really near and freaking dear to my heart, which is Tales from the Crypt. Ooh. I know I spoke about it before and stuff like that, but that show in a nutshell for me like sums up all the good hokey, like good B-movie aesthetic, just production and stuff. Like that show never took itself seriously. It's obviously based off the comics, the EC comics from the same name. And it was so like a phenomenal juggernaut in its own right that there was a joke in Hollywood that to make it big, you had to go through Tales from the Crypt. If you go back through episodes, you will find a young Brad Pitt, a young Daniel Craig, Christopher Reeve, Meatloaf, Bobcat the comedian. You'll find just dudes that was one of their first roles, and because legends. Of that, legends now, like legends in their own freaking right. And it's just one of those things where even directors jumped on it from Steven Spielberg to Robert Zemeckis to Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's one of his first directorial moves was Tales from the Crypt.
Wow.
So it's one of those things that just I loved it because it's an anthology, so it doesn't stick to one particular story like how Vince's story. The reason it's so great, or Vince's show, the reason it's so great is because it follows this really cool story the whole time, and they keep such consistency with that, and it's amazing to watch it because they bring in these people, and that you watch their caliber of acting grow. Tales from the Crypt has to do it the opposite way, where they're like, we're going to have to shoot each episode and try to shoot all of that, and then when we jump to the next one, we're going to have to do it, and we're going to poke fun at it. As Vince's pick kept respect to it, you watch Tales from the Crypt, and Jesus Christ, they are leaning into corny, and it's just beautiful, and it's still scary. If you show it to a little kid and you're like, hey, you've never seen anything scary, right? It's like, no, enjoy, click, and just leave the room. Be like, Jesus Christ.
Surprisingly though, they'll eat it up. They'll love it. It is definitely geared in a weird way. It's geared to both adults and children. They do such a great job at tying both of those in, grabbing both of those audiences' attention and keeping that. I think it has to do with kind of the corniness and the like puppetry of it. Like there's a lot of like practical effects, old school style effects, right? Like almost like first season of Walking Dead with all the practical effects they use there. I say it's very like I don't know, just got the old school vibes. I love it.
Right.
I will say this because you just spoke about your seasons and stuff like that. I will say there are 7 seasons and 3 movies. If you will ever watch this, watch seasons 1 through 6 and skip 7 completely.
Okay.
And if you're going to watch the movies, the 3 of them, watch the first one. The other 2 can just be burned.
Okay.
Just being really honest here.
2 things that I want you both to keep in mind towards the end of the episode. I'm asking it now so that you have it in your head when we bring up the shows.
Okay.
Which of these shows, out of all 6 of our choices, has the best opening credits or the opening title sequence? So as we keep going through, just keep that in mind, because I'm going to ask you both
which of the
at the end.
6 altogether?
Yeah, all together.
That's actually
Which
really
of the
rough.
6?
That's actually really rough because I as soon as you said that, I just heard like
I think I'm gonna lose that one.
No, the Stranger Things one's good, but
Mine are pretty bland. I think both of mine are real bland.
No, it's really
They're
good.
just like it's just a title that goes over. You know.
You can do a lot with just the title. 10 seconds.
Right.
That's
Okay. That's how we open up.
that's exactly how we open up. So you know what? In regards to Tales of the Crypt, what kind of impact do you think it had on you and your relationship with the horror genre? Did it strengthen it, or were you kind of like already into it at that point, or was that really kind of like your opening door to it, where you were just like, horror, here's everything that I love?
Wow, that's like a Sean Evans tier question right there.
Yeah.
I love it. He's prepared. I love it.
We take notes now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
we
I have my
don't
notes
come
on.
half cocked.
I guess it actually saved my love for horror. It genuinely did. So when I was a kid, my dad he tried to make me not afraid of scary movies. So he made me watch a scary movie, Child's Play. My sister did not know this, had a good guy doll. So I was like, that's a cool toy. I watched that movie, terrified, shaking. Saw that toy, they had to get rid of the fucking toy because I was so fucking afraid. So it made me scared of movies and stuff like that. Like I couldn't like I would shake, you know me, I get panic attacks and stuff. And then one day my dad's watching HBO late at night, 12 o'clock, because that's when they aired it, because they were just like, we're gonna keep the aesthetic of this going. So I remember sitting down and just like anxious at this episode that they were playing. And the first episode that I remember watching was the one with Billy Zane, where he plays the magician. Yeah, where that one, it was like really gory and violent. But I remember watching it and be like, oh my God, this is so good. And then every Saturday, I would have to hide behind the couch until the Crypt Keeper stopped talking. Because he did scare me a bit.
He's creepy, man. Even still to this day, like I look at him and he's a creepy boy.
Terrifying.
The reason why I didn't like it, I figured it out too, is because the animatronic team that worked on Chucky on the Child's Play series.
Oh, wow, okay.
Crypt Keeper's eyes are the same eyes used for Chucky. Same blue ones.
Those bright blue ones. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why every time I saw them, I'm just like, I'm uncomfortable. Why? Why?
It's interesting.
Yeah, so it got me back into loving it. Like I fell in love with watching it again, and it made me appreciate just movies I watched a high-tier horror movie is what I watched as my first introduction. So I got scared of it and I appreciated that. And then after watching that, I watched Tales from the Crypt. And it made me kind of appreciate this like subgenre that we all know, like some of us enjoy it a lot. I don't know I know David does. I think I've had conversations with Vince where I don't know if you like it or not. Like the B movies, like the horror movies that are purposely made they're like, hey, we're going to make a quirky, weird movie just because we want to do it. It's a passion project.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Like
yeah, Evil Dead. So that got me into appreciating that more than mainstream horror, but I still appreciate mainstream horror. So in a really long, bloated answer, like it saved my love for horror. It like genuinely was like, as a kid, that was what geared me right towards that.
Is there
a...
Just a follow-up question for Tales from the Crypt. Is there any particular part of the show overall that makes you enjoy it more? Like, for instance, like the practical effects, like to Vince's point, or the acting, or the directing, the camera work, anything like that. Like, what's one thing that sticks out to you about that show more than any other ones that you've watched?
It's going to sound weird because you'd have to get into it, like really into it, like to the behind the scenes stuff. The writing, man. the
For sure.
writers on that show, they constantly were in rotation, but they never got really rid of any. So when you watch certain episodes, you'd be like, I recognize this writing pattern. And it was always amazing because some of it would be like, yo, we're going to go really quirky and we're going to talk about like, what if a comic book writer can write stuff and it comes to life?
Oh, yeah.
Or we're going to go really weird and it's going to be, hey, this dude's going to kill you. Period. He's just breaking into your house and murdering you. And the atmospheres are so different. Like I loved it because you would watch an episode and it would be like watching like a movie for like an hour. You'd be like, all right, this is going to be a new thing. And you get that vibe right off the bat. And I commend the writing team for that. Like that's what I fucking love. That's one thing I will always point out. If you watch that show, season 7 don't, because season 7 they had to get a new writing staff. I'm going to say this constantly. Season 7 they had to get a new writing staff and they were all located in the UK. And it was just the same writing team working in a different style, which was they all kind of collectively pulled into projects. It wasn't like, oh, we're writing our own thing and hopefully it gets picked. And then the fucking second and third movie, do not watch it. The second movie, and it's because I don't like Dennis Miller, because he's a whatever. He listens, I guess, because he's a fucking cunt. Dennis Miller took the script from everyone and was just like, I'm rewriting this. So he fucked up that movie. Even the director was like, dude, because he had to get Dennis Miller on, he had creative control over everything. So he changed everything, and then he didn't want to film with people, and then he didn't want to do anything. He ruined it. But if you watch seasons 1 through 6 and the first movie, bro, those are just amazing bits of writing where you can feel for characters. Even simple dialogue, you'll feel for them. Sorry, I'll go on for hours, but that's what I like, the writing.
No, I love it, man. You can really see that Victor loves the show and just appreciates it from its core. There's so many different things I can tell. We could probably sit here and do a whole Tales of Crypt episode with Victor, just like going on. But it's cool. It's cool to see the appreciation. I've seen Tales of Crypt. I don't think I've seen like every single season or every single episode, but it's interesting that you're so into it. I love it.
There's a beauty in. I think I wanted to choose TV shows because, well, with horror movies, you can always go back and watch it and experience it over and over again.
Yeah.
There's nothing like being able to watch something weekly and get a new adventure out of it. Ongoing horror is so much better because, especially anthology series, they're constantly putting you into a different. You could get attached to one character and one story particularly, and then the next week, it's done. It's gone. It's shut. There might be a follow-up episode. We don't know, but right now the show's creators and the writers, they're just like, hey, focus your attention on this now, and that's fun because it makes you get involved into the series. So that's. Tales from the Crypt is definitely legendary at doing that. I feel like they open the door for a lot of shows, especially with their mainstream success in terms of like merchandising and, because everybody had like a toy of like the Crypt Keeper or like a comic book or a lunchbox, like or collectible or something like that. So it kind of open up that door for more mainstream success in terms of TV shows. So great pick, Vic. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My first choice for this month is going to be Goosebumps. Goosebumps was for those who don't know, and I would be surprised or remiss if you didn't, but Goosebumps was a collection of stories that were written by R.L. Stine. R.L. Stine is one of the most iconic and legendary horror writers. I mean, most of his stuff was geared towards kids, which there's nothing wrong with that. But when I think of horror writing, I think of like Stephen King, R.L. Stine, names like that. And I thought it was really cool because he made a show for kids from 95 to 98. There were 74 episodes, all just so scary. There were times where I couldn't sleep at night because I kept thinking about the stuff that I saw in the episodes. And I think it's even more challenging to fit something that can last for so long in the course of 22 minutes without commercials, because we all know it was actually 22 minutes. But first off, let's get it off the chest. The acting was terrible.
Oh,
It was so bad. It was very 90s-esque that most of the actors were kids, and they had to tell a story, make us feel for the character, make us want to know the ending of the story within 22 minutes. And there were so many good episodes. I'll be honest, I don't like all of them. There's plenty of episodes where I'm like, we can skip this. But I think some of my favorite episodes were, the ones that don't have happy endings, which are most of them, mind you. Whenever you read the books, it never ended in like a sunshiny way for like the hero or the protagonist of the particular story. Like there was always like the last sentence was, and then some shit went down. and that's how the TV show and the episodes were. My favorites were obviously The Haunted Mask.
Oh, yeah.
And Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Camp Nightmare was every kid's, because in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s, it was big that you would go to summer camps. I myself never went to one.
Some white people shit.
Yeah, it's definitely some white people shit.
Yep, I'm white confirm? And I went to camp.
All right. White people shit confirmed. But no. It's like they took like pretty much every, and this how you know it was geared towards kids. They took every kid's like top fear, and they were like, let's turn that into an episode.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's turn that into a book, and then they're
don't go into the basement.
Don't go into the basement.
The
carnival episodes, the Night of the Living Dummy, like there were a lot of like scary episodes, and even now it doesn't hold up as well as it should. Like I like this past week I went and I watched the first season alone, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't hold up. But the effects were pretty good for a 90s show, and one that was on like, I think it was originally on CTV, which is Canadian television.
Yeah.
A lot of my favorite shows were on CTV, like Degrassi and Instant Star and Radio Free Roscoe. Pretty much anything that was on the N, which was the teen version of Noggin.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
So like at 2 or 3 o'clock, they would suddenly start playing all of this stuff geared toward teens, and Goosebumps reruns were on there too. So I would watch Degrassi, Instant Star, and then Goosebumps, and they would have it late at night. So, lights dim, Goosebumps on.
Bro, I would wake up on Saturdays. This is not my age check, I guess. I'd wake up on Saturdays, and I actually was supposed to go. There was like a Fox studio downtown, I think. There still might be, and they were having open auditions for kids to be in Goosebumps. And I was supposed to go. My mom was like, yeah, let's go. I'll take you, because I was like, I really want to go. And the day it happened was the day I broke my shoulder.
Damn.
Yeah, dude.
What could have been? We could have been talking about this, and like, remember that kid Victor from Night of the Living Dummy? Yeah, like he was cool. Whatever happened to him?
You had to break your shoulder. You had to go and do it.
Thanks sorry.
For that, Thanks.
My brother's an asshole. He threw me off a slide in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah, we were playing outside because I was so energetic, and he grabbed me and he threw me, and I broke my collarbone.
Damn. What the hell, Lewis? What are you doing?
Ruining my acting career.
Speaking of broken collarbones and broken acting careers, I just want to ask you guys, based off of the 3 shows that we just mentioned and talked about, out of the episodes that you've watched out of all of those, which ones would you star in, and why? Are there any particular ones for you, Vince? Because it's one series, so not an anthology series. I'll ask, which character would you want to be?
Honestly, put me in the episode where you learn all about Papa and Eleven's Papa, and she's crushing cans of Coke. I mean, I can be 11. Recast me as 11. Come on. Am I right?
I thought you were going to say cast me as Winona Ryder.
Look at this bean. We have the same bean.
New 11, motherfucker.
Okay,
11. So I'm 12.
So new 11. 11 plus 1. Victor?
Sorry. They call me Bobby Millie Brown.
That's a rapper's name, bro.
Bobby.
That's a stage name.
Go ahead, Victor, sorry.
Bobby, go pick up the Eggos.
I'm trying to figure out. There's like one particular episode that I would love to star in, and it would probably be the first one out of the pilot episode for Tales from the Crypt, which was the man they called Death. And it's about a state executioner that he loses his job, but he still sees it as his job to kill people who are guilty. And that's all I will say. It's very dark and macabre, and the actor for it is amazing. He actually starred in Demon Knight as well. He was the main in Demon Knight. It's William Sadler. He's a really well-known character actor, playing very Southern. He's always like, "Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Mississippi." And it's just like, we're in New York, man. And he's just always cool. You probably saw him in The Mist. He was in one of the Conjuring movies as well, always playing that Southern dad. I would like to be that guy. I like to be that guy, but not Southern. Just this cool, calm person breaking the fourth wall. I loved it too. He was breaking the fourth wall, explaining why he was still carrying out justice, why he was still the executioner. That's what I would like to do. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
let's
wait. No, David, what's yours? What would you want to be in? Adult you right now. In which Goosebumps episode?
Let me think.
He would be the goosebump.
I'd probably be the goosebump on every person's arm.
You just get scared. You look down. It's like a bunch of David faces, just like ah.
Sunday. Probably don't go into the basement.
Hell yeah!
I felt like there was something.
One of the best episodes.
If that was geared towards adults, that would be so sinister. That was so fun to watch. I would love to be one of those kids where it's just like, well, looks like I got myself into one of these messes. Sure hope I don't get eaten.
Right.
So yeah, that'd probably be fun. I would probably more than likely like to just work on one of those shows. Like, I'd like to write an episode for Goosebumps. Like, that would be fun. Or, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's move on. Vince, where's your second choice?
All right, so my second choice is kind of a newer series. I say that, and actually, you guys are watching this hopefully when it drops brand new on October 13th. The new season 3 comes out in 2 days for you guys. Comes out on October 15th. I'm talking about the hit show You. If you guys have not seen You, it's on Netflix. I know this is another popular one, but I don't think it's as popular as like Stranger Things or any of these other shows that we're talking about. It's not as iconic. I think this will be one of those shows that gets better with time, and that will slowly grow more and more and more of an audience. It's based off a book. I didn't read the book, unfortunately, so I can't compare. But yeah, You is basically about this guy Joe, and he seems like your average Joe, and slowly we follow him and start to realize that he's kind of he's got something wrong with him, like socially, and then from there you kind of realize that he's kind of creepy, like kind of weird with girls, and then we see he's kind of a stalker, and it just grows and grows, and he ends up to be like this murderous stalker, schemy kind of creep. But he's our main character, and it's weird because I think everyone who watches the show can attest to this. The writer does such a good job at making him a likable character somehow through all of those flaws and weird traits. Like, he's still a likable character. You don't want him to succeed, but at the same time, you don't want him to get caught, because then the show's over.
Then we'd have nothing to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's a thin line. That's a very thin line to, like, kind of to your point. Like, there's a lot of shows that I like where the characters, terrible people. Like, if you met these people in life, you'd be like, I hope you spend the rest of your life in jail, or stay away from me, stay as far away from me as you can. But to the writer's point, which is again a Victor's point, writing is so important. They need to thread the line between we know and are aware that this character is terrible, but you've also have to make him likable enough for us to keep watching.
Yeah.
Especially with shows like that. It's like, oof, like how do you
Yeah.
thread that line? And to the
I
actor's point too, Pim Beasley is the bomb in that.
Exactly. Yeah, because that could definitely be detrimental to that actor's career, right? Like you always see him in that light. But they do a really good job at kind of pulling back into Joe's personal life, and you get to see his struggles even with himself. Like sometimes he doesn't want to do the wrong thing, but he ends up doing it anyways. And you always hope for him to do the right thing. There's a small window where he's, living a normal life and doing things the right way. And you kind of like, okay, cool. Like good for Joe, but also like, this isn't the show I signed up for at the same time, but it's still a beautiful ride the whole time.
There is a question that I want to ask you about the show.
Yeah.
Are there any points where it's a two-part question? Are there any points during season 1 and season 2 where you were like, this is too much for me, like I gotta pause this, or whoa, what the fuck, like you needed a second to process what was happening? Are there any moments that happen? And part 2, are there any episodes that you would tell people kind of to stay away from, or to warn them in advance, hey, this is a very heavy episode?
Yeah, I think so. It takes a little bit to see Joe kind of fully evolve, at least to the viewer. I have really no idea if he has done these types of things prior to the show starting, kind of like in this world. But there's an episode where he's got a prisoner, and in his I'm going to spoil a little bit. I'm sorry. He's got a prisoner in the basement of a bookshop where he keeps people. It is somebody he's jealous of, and once again, you're hoping he does the right thing, but this is like the first time where he ends up killing somebody, and he like steals this dude's phone to try to talk to his girlfriend that he's into, and it's just like, bro, you're psychotic. Like, this is nuts.
Victor,
but it's
have
also
you watched the show? You
No,
really
dude.
surprised.
Oh,
Like,
what?
okay.
Oh my God. See, yeah, bro, check out You. This is such an interesting show. It's an interesting dynamic because once again, like, he's doing terrible things, and he's doing things that you should never do or even think about doing, but you're also so intrigued. And like, my favorite part is watching him try to get out of the situations and try to, because obviously there's like police and like laws he's breaking and shit like that, and you're like, how the fuck are you gonna get out of this?
To Vince's point, it's entirely narrated by him in his head as the actions are happening. So whatever he's thinking, we can hear it, and it's so fun because we get to see his reactions and his thoughts in the moment to like other characters' dialogue and shit like that. So as you're watching, you get a sense of like where his head's at. And from the first 5 minutes of the show, it takes like this very drastically dark turn. And from episode 1, you're hooked. So it's pretty much like how to spot a sociopath. For sure. in loose terms, like, in the actor that portrays Joe, he's always telling people like, do not fall in love with this character, do not romanticize this character, he is a fucking whack job. Which is fun that he's so aware of that, because if he tried to play into it at all, it would probably make it,
I think that might cross the line.
That would definitely try and cross the line. But yeah, I mean, that's kudos to that. I like that though. Nice job.
Yeah, and like I said, season 3 starts in 2 days from this episode airing, so 2 days from right now, if you're watching right now. Catch up, watch season 3 with me, and comment all your thoughts. Fucking text me, message me. Like, I'm interested to see everybody's thoughts. I know a lot of people that I'm actually like Facebook friends with and that watch the show. You guys watch You. So
I'll definitely message you. after I see, because I'm gonna binge watch it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch the whole thing in like a day.
Awesome.
I'll try, I guess.
Vic,
Yeah.
what is your second choice?
My second one, I guess, I'm very into like the iconic stuff, or not iconic, but the older stuff. So my second pick is something that we've all at least heard about or watched deeply, or hell, have written a paper about because I wrote a paper on this. The Twilight Zone. Cue the music. So, for those of you that haven't watched it or haven't gotten a chance to it, it's on Hulu. One, two. The Twilight Zone is the brainchild of Rod Sterling. He created one of the most amazing anthology series of all time. We're having a Twilight Zone moment right now as Vince's camera has just come to life.
Listen, man, I'm still like adjusting to my living situation. I don't have an actual desk set up. I'm sitting on the floor. If you haven't noticed already,
I'm just waiting for I'm waiting for your computer to say no internet.
In the background, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I was supposed to get 3 posters.
Oh, you hung them up.
Oh yeah, neat.
I was supposed to get 3, but the third one was missing from my order. This order was over a month ago, and I totally didn't check the contents, so I have to message them and get my third one, which is Interstellar, but there's Spider-Man and Seinfeld in the background. It's awesome. Yeah. Hopefully, let's get that. So, Twilight Zone.
So the show itself is super iconic. It is, in most horror writers' opinions, like that is the Godfather. Like, that is your grandfather. That is, if you watch any modern anthology show, they are slightly taking from it, and a lot of people will admit to that. Tales from the Crypt writers admit to it all the time. A lot of great directors admit they pull inspiration for sci-fi stuff from this, because Rod Sterling was just a brilliant creator, and it, like, his iconic intro, you play that for anyone anywhere around the world, they'll know about it. The Twilight Zone just pretty much follows just different stories about either a normal circumstance turning into something truly terrifying. A lot of it played on psychological cues too, psychological stuff that will mess with your head if you really tried to think about it. And it either ended well or it ended just terrible for the person. And I loved it. I love that kind of writing. When I watched it as a kid, we still watch one episode. It's been a tradition in my house since I was a kid for 31 years. We watch an episode called "Let the Meek Inherit." Yep, that is the episode me and my father watch every year. Amanda joins us now with Alba, but it's just one of those shows that, like, I feel like every other country has seen this one too, because the reruns played after it went into syndication.
Oh yeah,
well, it's a Christmas themed episode.
Yeah, so it's just one of my favorite things of all time, man. Just like anything that plays with something simple and just fucks with your head about it. That's one thing.
So I want to ask 2 questions, and this is for both of you. But seeing as how it's your show or your choice, I want you to go first, Victor. Because both of your choices have been anthology series, and both of your choices, Vin, have been just regular ongoing series. Do you think there are pros and cons to the anthology series, like the format of an anthology series? And my second question is not for both of you, just for you, Vic, but how it stands the test of time, like Twilight Zone. Do you think it's better now? Like, if you go back and watch it, do you think it still holds up, or do you think it was better when you first discovered it?
Can I answer the second one first, and then me and Vince will take turns?
Yeah.
So the first one, Rod Sterling, he touched a lot of topics that still to this day ring kind of true, like very racial topics, like a lot of xenophobic topics, like topics about just like the mental standing of people, how a lot of mental things are looked at, and it's really, those things didn't age badly. They aged quite well. And if you've never heard of some of these episodes, you won't see the twist. It's quite beautifully done. Like, just the amount of tension he was able to build into that stuff, or the amount of meaning he put behind it, because his own words were like, he couldn't make something that's just like, you just turn on and leave in the background. He wanted to put a message behind everything. And that's like one of the best things about that is that you watch it, you could get the message. You could get the message of just like treating your neighbor well. Don't be paranoid of people, or just cherish what you have, because Lord knows, if I could drop one of them, which was like kind of based around, I believe it was when his father passed away. It was called The Hitchhiker. And the whole episode is a person trying to get, like, driving down the road, just going to visit their significant other. And it just starts ending up that they notice a person every time they stop in the back, kind of waving for them to like give them a ride, just like, please give me a ride. And the whole tension just behind that, where you feel like something's just creeping on you, was just like, and I was relating to death. And like, he wrote it because he's like, that's my father passed away. This is what I thought. So I feel like it holds up well. You'll have to watch specific episodes to like kind of feel that heaviness, but I feel it holds up well throughout time. So that's my opinion. I know everyone else has their own opinion. Please watch the show and tell me I'm fucking wrong. I would argue about that.
I suggest on Instagram, just real quick before you respond, Ben, on Instagram, on our story, we'll put our recommended episodes for you guys to watch for our respective shows.
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
Just our go-tos. So,
but Vince, the question about the anthology, like, is it a better format or the continuous story? That's what I was going to answer it first. I have my opinions on this one.
Yeah. So the question was, what are the pros and cons of having an anthology? So the pros of having an anthology. Actually, I'll start with the cons. Let's leave the question on a positive note. The cons of having an anthology. I'll use What If, for example. It doesn't matter how good the show is. Having anthology, there's nothing to look forward to the next week as far as an ongoing story. There's no sense of cliffhangers. There's no sense of what's going to happen now.
There's a sense of longing. Pretty much.
You're always left with wanting more, which, depending on how you look at it, could be a negative or a positive thing. We did Love, Death, and Robots again. That's anthology. There are episodes where we wanted so much more that we did a whole episode about us, fantasizing about what it could be. But with anthology also comes some positive things, such as you stepping into a new experience every single week. Every single episode is going to be different. They're never going to get stale. It's just a new something to look forward to every single week, because it's fresh and it's unexpected, and you never know what you're going to get.
Victor?
Mine is more leaning with
that was really good, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was really
Thank you.
To your point.
Mine is leaning with Vince. I love the anthology format. I love it because of that kind of like it makes your imagination play on forward. I think it really depends on the writers too, but the pros and cons are, for me, we'll do it. I'll do reverse here. The positives is that you get to play. We're all content creators here. We all like me and Vince and David. We've all written stuff to just kind of fool around with. There's so much joy with that. There's so much joy that you can make a story and just be like, oh, I'm going to think of something else and keep shooting it out. And you get to always produce something new. But that does lack the consistency. That does hinder the potential of an overarching story of something that will pay off. Like that you can watch from season 1 to season 4 and be like, that was the payoff.
That's true.
As opposed to like watching something where it's like, okay, then that was a good episode. Really fun season. So I'm leaning with Vince on this one with most of his points.
You'll never get the satisfaction of King Joffrey dying after listening to him for 4 seasons.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Something like that will never happen in an anthology.
Negan killing Glenn, you build up to it and you had it happen.
You'll never care about Glenn that much after watching him for 7 seasons and then watching him die. Same kind of thing.
There's something that I'm noticing with both of your choices is that you guys tend to err on the side of the psychological aspect of horror rather than like the physical aspect in your choices anyways. Okay. Like Joe is a murderer and he does a lot of it's very physical and a lot of like violence in it. But for the most part, and Stranger Things too, there's like a psychological aspect that kind of creeps up on you whenever you're watching the episodes. Am I like in the ballpark for that?
No, absolutely. That's an extremely fair point. I couldn't agree more. I didn't even realize that till you brought it up, though.
And I mean, Victor, I mean, your stuff, I mean, that's just
Especially Twilight Zone.
yeah, especially Twilight Zone. It's just like it takes the worst or like the worst thought that you can have about a situation or humanity in general, and it takes it and it spins it on its axis. And it's just like, what would you, the viewer, do in these situations? And I feel like that's kind of the point to all of, especially to you, like the show, is I think the reason that we can hear Joe's thoughts is for us to convey, or the show conveys like our thought process. It invokes our thought process to think, well, what would I do in this situation? Would I even be in this situation? All right, so what if I was? And like shit like that. So
the way you
it's the same with Twilight Zone.
Yeah, the way you describe the show You and that part, that's so psychological because you're humanizing a monster. You're humanizing it, but you're still reminding people, hey, he's a monster.
Yeah.
But like, aren't we all the little monsters? Don't you take up, you forget to give a tip. It's like, yeah, that's different from killing people, but I get it. Like, we're all kind of.
All of your shows take the worst of humanity and it shines a light on it, and it's saying we're making this entertainment for you, but don't forget the overall point, which is this is fucking terrible. So I find that's very fun with that.
An interesting observation. But yeah, I didn't even realize that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So my final choice is going to be, and I'm sporting a sweatshirt for it too. It's the Midnight Society, and it is Are You Afraid of the Dark? It is more than likely one of the most popular shows. That was one of the most popular live action shows that was on SNICK.
Yep.
Which is like it was like it was like Nickelodeon for teens on Saturday nights, and you had the what was it, the Secret Life of Alex Mack, the Adventures of, what was it, Kelly Wu, Animorphs. Are You Afraid of the Dark was like the mainstay for that. It started in 1990. I'm not mentioning the revival series because I haven't watched it, and like I know nothing.
Doesn't count.
So, Are You Afraid of the Dark was a horror anthology series that took place from 1990 to 1996, with one last season coming out in 99 to 2000. There were 74 episodes altogether. Well, sorry, 91 episodes altogether. It was fucking amazing. I think that was like my gateway to horror TV. Up until this point, when I had seen it, I had played or I had watched a lot of horror movies with like my cousins who would babysit me after school. My dad would put them on in the background, even though he like hated them. Like my dad hates horror movies. He does not like them. He watched The Exorcist when he was a kid, and he was like, you know what? Fuck that.
You know what? Not for me.
He was like, not for me, dog. It's not for me. He's Randy Jackson when it comes to horror movies. He's like, yeah, I don't know, dog. I didn't like how the dog killed the kid. So I mean, 91 episodes. So basically it's just, I'll give you the premise. It's just a bunch of kids that sit around a campfire in the middle of the night because it's the 90s, and they're in the woods and they make a fire and they sit around and they say scary stories to each other. They throw a bit of sand in there, and they're called the Midnight Society. You have to tell a story that will invite you to the club. They can say you're in or you're out. So we start the series with one kid being introduced. He's blindfolded. He's introduced to the group, and he's like, well, let's go. Let's do this shit. And so, I mean, from there, they throw in the sand, and they'll say submitted for approval by the Midnight Society. I call this tale, and then the tale of blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And I'm just going to say it, and it's not just my personal opinion. The show was iconic among kids and teenagers because it was completely geared towards, it was a horror series that was geared for kids. A lot of the series, a lot of the effects and the stuff, the stories, it would probably be like TV PG now, but back then, like, it was on Nick at Night, like it was on Snake, like 5-year-olds could watch this shit. And for as many nightmares as I had watching the show, I still go back. I have the entire series on digital, and I watch this all the time, like throughout the year, not just in Halloween. There's stuff that I'll only watch when it's October, but this show particularly I watch throughout the year because I love it so much.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
think-
remember
yeah.
watching it on Nickelodeon. It was one of those rare shows too where you wouldn't always catch it. It wasn't always on
No,
like regular like all the other shows.
There was a reason to
So,
it.
what's the reason?
Oh, a lot of people called and complained. A lot of people called and complained. So when you got called and complained back in the day on Nickelodeon, they would switch your spot.
mm-hmm.
Just switch it just so, you complained that Timmy saw it at 5, so we'll switch it at 6. Don't worry about it. Like
Complain that was too scary for kids.
Yeah, because Dave's right, man.
I don't.
completely
Yeah,
right.
there wasn't a day. I don't think it was originally airing on Saturdays. I think it was like middle of the week,
Yeah.
and then the complaints started rolling in. So they were like, "We got to move this show, or we got to cancel it, or something." But it was so popular that they were like, "We can't." This thing had merchandise for like the characters in particular episodes. It had video game series.
Mhm.
Like merchandising in the 90s, if you sold a lot of merchandise, that meant that your show wasn't getting canceled. The more merchandise you sold, the more popular your show was. So
When I was a kid, you're right. To the point where when I was a kid, the one episode that I loved, and I remember we found a hoodie for it. Like it was probably like cheaply made, but whatever. The Tale of the Dead Man's Float.
that was okay. So my 2 episodes, I'll just say it now before you reference another one, which I'm sure you're gonna do because you're Victor.
It's a good episode.
My 2 go-to episodes were Tale of Laughing in the Dark
Oof.
and The Tale of Dead Man's Float, which
Yeah.
both of those in the 90s, the Tale of the Dead Man's Float, those effects were terrifying. It was totally terrifying. It takes place in a pool, and we have like this character this villain that is entirely made up of like it looked like sludge and blood and everything, and it just comes out of like the drainage system. And
It's like,
what kids TV show are you watching that has a murdered, drowned character come out from the drainage system, and for the I think the janitor like has a heart attack in the episode, and I'm like, what is this?
Who's the guy from She's Out of Your League, the main character? The main actor.
Jay Baruchel.
Yeah, so he was in that episode, and in the first 2 minutes of that episode, he plays a little kid playing in the pool, not knowing it's haunted, and he gets dragged under by that fucking thing and killed. Like, that was why they closed the pool, was because that kid got killed. That show pushed a lot of boundaries. That's why I got a lot of complaints, because they were just like, yeah, people die in scary stories. It's like, yeah, but this is for kids, right?
Kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of groundbreaking for the time, right? Like, it's scary enough and gory enough and has all those just things that you as a parent don't want your kid to watch at that time, right? In the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Enough to get all the Karens to call and complain. So,
it's what the hell are you doing? And then Tale of the Laughing in the Dark was it was still in season 1. So mind you, these episodes are in the earlier seasons. A lot of the time with TV shows that you like, and you'll notice a pattern, is that it keeps getting better by the season, at least with the anthology series. But the first couple of seasons for Are You Afraid of the Dark, gold. Like they put some of the best episodes in those earlier shows. But so Tale of Laughing in the Dark, it's fucking terrifying. There's the main character that is Zebo, who is this clown that just has this otherworldly smile that's just so far. It's an animatronic clown. At first, we're introduced to it at a carnival from our main character Josh, and he's just going to the carnival. He's hanging out, and then he sees the clown, and when it comes out, it kind of just like it's moving like a clown would at a carnival, and it's fucking terrifying.
Classic scene from that show.
And then we kind of see later in the episode that it starts to follow him and starts to kind of wear on his mind. The best parts of Are You Afraid of the Dark is simply they're just telling a story. So at the end of the story, we're right next to the campfire again. and we're with these kids who are just like, holy shit, like they're probably freaking out as much
Holy
as we
shit!
are.
My mom's about to call
Yeah.
and cancel this show.
And every episode always ends the same. They always put water on the fire, and then it's done.
Then it's it. That's all.
And then that's it. So I think Are You Afraid of the Dark was iconic in the 90s. I mean, simply because it was made for kids in mind. There was something that's beautiful about that, because a lot of shows that kids like are just like, they weren't aimed for kids. So think about it. Some of our
Yeah.
favorite shows that were kid shows are not aimed for kids at all.
Well, I think
like,
with Are You Afraid of the Dark, it was aimed for kids, and I think the producers and the creators of the show understood that their audience is kids, right? They understand that the kids are going to pick up on it and they're going to be okay with it, and it's scary enough for a kid to be like, holy shit, this is scary, but it's not. It's nothing that's going to leave them with scars or traumatize them, right? I think it's more so. Yeah, they were ready to take that chance and really give kids something actually scary to watch without crossing too far into the dark, getting into like the adult theme, right? So I think the parents having the issue with it, it's a lot of just parents trying to shield their kids of that and just not ready to accept that their kids are old enough to watch that level of horror. They're at the mental capacity where they can handle it, but it's probably it's going to be actually scary for them. You know what I mean?
To this day, Are You Afraid of the Dark, I think, out of any of the series that I watched as a kid, like, really still holds up.
Yeah, absolutely. You say the name and people know.
Right. The acting is it's 90s acting from kids, so it's not great. But there are episodes like the ones that I just named where like the acting talent, the writing, the premise, the camera work, like everything about it behind the scenes wise is just gold. Like, it's chef's kiss, dude. And it's fun to always go back and watch that, and it definitely, even 30 years later, it's still holding up. People still talk about it, so it's obviously big for a reason. So that's, I mean,
awesome. Honestly, that's a good pick to end the episode with. I feel like that was like the cherry on top of all these TV shows. Is just a classic from our era that kind of bridged the gap from being a kid to being an adult, and kind of getting us ready for all these other shows and movies that we were going to love.
I will ask my last question for you guys that I mentioned in the beginning.
The intro, right?
The intros. So out of our 6 choices, what do you think has the best intro?
I'm going to go with Goosebumps. It's got the classic theme song that everyone remembers. It's got a good intro. It's spooky. It's always got like the Halloween fall kind of vibes to it.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, you say Goosebumps, and it's one of those shows you mention the name, and the theme song pops in your head right away. So I think
beware.
That's gonna be my choice.
A scare. Okay. Yeah. All right. Goosebumps. Vic?
I think Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because it like that intro does not have really any music. It's just this eerie, like what you would hear when like you're walking into like a haunted camp, and the imagery of just black and white, like the lake with a boat, and you see like there's like a shoe in there, and then it goes to the attic where it's like panning over, and then the end is literally someone lighting a match with their finger, and it's Are You Afraid of it? I'm just like, bro, yeah. I remember seeing that, being like, oh, it's time. What murder show am I gonna watch this week?
I think we all chose a different. I think we each chose like a different show that wasn't ours, because I'm going with Tales from the Crypt. Iconic, like from starting outside to like going through. It's so iconic that fucking Big Sean sampled that shit for a song, like the theme song for that. So chill. But to go through like the whole show, like the whole while it's like a storm outside and you're going through the whole house, you're going deeper into it, and then all of a sudden you just see the Crypt Keeper just come out of nowhere and do his iconic laugh. It's just amazing. And then
Awesome.
another very last quick question. Do you have any honorable mentions that like you were kind of struggling? You were like, it's
Yeah.
either between this or this.
Yeah, I was definitely struggling with one. I saw your guys' picks and they're great. They're a little dated. I was gonna try to just like bring some modern stuff in just to keep the variety going. The show that I opted out of is gonna be Black Summer. It's on Netflix.
That's a good one, though. That's a
Yeah.
fucking good show.
Black Summer is great. I won't get too into it. It's a zombie apocalypse TV show. There's 100 of these, right? So what stands out about this one? Why should you watch this instead of any other zombie show? I would say the reason is it's the way it's shot. That's the most appealing thing to me. It's shot. Every episode is from a different perspective. But it has overlapping timelines where you'll watch episode 2 and you'll see something that you saw in the background of episode 1 play out in episode 2 from this character's perspective.
Yeah.
And the story progresses slowly, but it's really good watch. It's really good watch. Check it out. Season 2 just came out, so it's an early show. It's a brand new show. You guys have plenty of time to catch up and get on board with it.
Victor?
Mine. I was actually gonna originally do it, but then the two picks that I had, I'm like, I know these so freaking well. So it's a British anthology. It's actually still going on, but it's short season, so it's like 5 episodes. It's called Inside Number 9. If you are bored, it's on Hulu. They have the first 2 seasons. It is just a dark comedy anthology, dark horror comedy anthology. So some of the stories can be lighthearted from like, oh, what are we going to do to like, I don't want to use any examples because it's so random, or it goes into like as dark as like the thoughts of as dark as like the thoughts of like what happens when we die. And it's funny because it just has the same cast over and over. It's an anthology that reuses its cast. So I say check that out if you got any free time.
Big in the UK. Big in the UK.
I would just say real quick, Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, 90s TV show. Jonathan Frakes. And
yeah, dude, that's a good show.
Just another, so they tell you 3 stories.
For sure.
One of them is a lie, 2 are truce, or the other way around. But yeah, I think that's it. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this issue of Words with Nerds. As always, it is the Triple S crew. It is Sundance Kid, Slick Vic, and Space Case. Guys, we are outie.
Later, guys. Thank you.